it will not have escaped your attention that on the front pages we have significant movement, it would seem. Germany gives Johnson 30 days to avoid a no deal. Hard Brexit can still be averted, according to Angela Merkel. Who knows what's going to happen when he goes to see President Macron today, but we'll see. Meanwhile, you and I need to find out a little bit more about whether he has a chance of getting this across the line. Joining me now is Claude Moraes, who's Labour MEP and chairs the European Parliamentary Justice and Home Affairs Committee. Claude, good morning to you.
Good morning, James.
So, we've got Boris Johnson. It would appear as if Angela Merkel has shown him a chink of light and he has an opportunity. Can he get a deal done?
Well, nothing's changed as regards Angela Merkel and Boris Johnson. This 30 days is just in addition to the 2 years that we've been negotiating. And I thought it was really surprising at the press conference when Sky asked Boris Johnson straight, what was in your letter? What did you say to Angela Merkel at all about what is new? What is the British proposal? Because behind all the bluster and behind all the details, Britain has to come up with a proposal on the backstop if it wants a change to the Withdrawal Agreement. And there isn't any substantial, or we haven't seen any substantial change. So this 30 days is really her just talking about the period up till we leave on October the 31st. So I think what the member states are doing, what the Commission is doing, which is negotiating for all the EU27, is seeing whether there is any alternative proposal from Britain on the backstop. They can't really choose between protecting the single market and preserving peace in Northern Ireland. They are, they're stuck on this proposal, which was negotiated by us. It was created partly by us, negotiated over 2 years. And if we don't have an alternative, then what can we do? Now, I saw Boris Johnson talking about traded trusts or, trust schemes and all sorts of things when it didn't appear that he had, a magic bullet or some kind of proposal. They're still talking about those things that he talked about when he was Foreign Secretary. So this is a very worrying situation. And
You said it's a very worrying situation, but let's talk about the 31st of October. Do you think we are going to leave the European Union on the 31st of October?
Yeah, there's a very high chance of no deal on the 31st of October. If there isn't no deal, then of course there would have to be an extension of some sort, and I see that as being if the House of Commons is involved, if our Parliament takes a stand. But I can also see a default situation where we are out without a deal.
But what's wrong with leaving without a deal? Because if we leave without a deal, then it does mean that the 39 billion euros that has been earmarked for some kind of settlement or other, it means that we have that money. It means that we understand what the World Trade Organization rules are. Preparations have been made. Significant funds have been spent on that. And we also have a situation where we see this as very one-sided downside. There are a lot of people who are the other side of our trading bloc and rules who would like to see something sorted on the basis that Germany and France are not going to sit by and let their trade fall apart. They're going to want to see a deal done.
Sure. So you're asking why is no deal bad, and I'm sure you've discussed this on your programme many, many times. The issue about no deal being bad, I think what has happened in the UK is that because there wasn't quite the disaster after the referendum, people said, talked about Project Fear. I think there is now a feeling that, is no deal really as bad as people are saying? I think no deal is different. No deal, we have left the European Union. We are subject to tariffs. Our farmers, our exporters. That is real. That is going to be a real impact. And
of course it's going to be an impact in the short term, but this is the point, is that if, for example, the Office for National Statistics can't even get the figures right in respect of what the immigration numbers are into the UK, we've had consistently poor projections by both government, ministers, people in opposition, talking about what may or may not happen in the future. We've had woeful economic forecasting from the Bank of England. All of these things, it's because none of us, no matter how brilliant we are, none of us can look into the future, and all of us have a particular angle that we wish to push. The point is that the British people are not stupid. The British people have identified that a lot of bluster takes place as a result of politicians talking about whatever and spinning things so that they can get the way that they want. The point is that the British people voted to come out of the European Union. They are really furious that so many people have spent the last 3 years trying to derail the process because of their own political aims, as opposed to thinking about what might actually be better for the United Kingdom and indeed their constituents.
I think even if you are a Brexiteer, and Boris Johnson is a Brexiteer, you could see yesterday in his press conference that his preference is for a deal. Now, why is that? It's because no deal is particularly bad for the UK. Just to be on WTO rules as the only major economy in the world that would be in that position.
I agree. I think anybody.
That is a bad situation.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right to say that there is a definite advantage to having a deal. But the point is that if you hamstring anybody into a negotiating position, that they cannot walk away from those negotiations if they don't go right. The Europeans knew that this was the case previously, and as a result, pushed for what they wanted.
On no deal, the situation for the European Union is this, that there has been a negotiation now for over 2 years. So that's the first thing. Boris Johnson was our Foreign Secretary during that period, so he knows that there has been a negotiation. He's been involved in it. This is where we have come to. So there has been a negotiation. We're now in a situation where we're in the final part of that now. What Boris Johnson is saying is open up the Withdrawal Agreement to the 27 countries and drop the Irish backstop. That means for the EU to compromise on the single market and preserving peace in Northern Ireland.
Okay, but let's talk about that. Let's talk about that deal though for a second, because if you have a situation, for example, that you have the deal that the Prime Minister negotiated, I'm assuming that you would have voted against what Theresa May brought to Parliament.
Well, my party voted against it, yes, but I can see what the merits would have been in voting for a deal as opposed to no deal.
So if your party voted against it, then surely your party should be supporting Boris Johnson in this trying to open it up on the basis that that deal wasn't good enough. It wasn't right for the UK. And if it's not right for the UK, then why on earth do we have politicians playing politics within the House of Commons and elsewhere on the basis that they can't bring themselves to support Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, and they're just trying to derail him because they want the power themselves, or Jeremy Corbyn thinks that he could do a better job? Jeremy Corbyn has, no more or less of a chance than Boris Johnson, presumably, of coming up with a deal.
I mean, on the clear evidence, neither the EU and I mean, I'm over there. I listen carefully to what people are saying, what they're saying today. Neither the EU or I would say the opposition parties believe that opening withdrawal agreement is an option. And there is a lot of suspicion that what the government is doing is pushing this to the point where no deal is inevitable.
But you say that, but then if you listen to Boris Johnson and he said, look, no deal, I'd much rather have a deal. He's trying to bring the Europeans back to the negotiating table. Presumably that's what you want your Prime Minister to do.
But why would he be doing that with no proposals from the UK side?
Well, he's got to come up with a proposal, and you're absolutely right to shine a light on them. We've now got to see, but he's got 30 days. He's got to take them proposals. He's got to show us what they are, and he's got to take them.
After more than 2 years, where he was the Foreign Secretary, you could say that.
Well, that's as maybe, but you and I don't know.
Leaders of Germany and France, on the evidence.
Fine, but you and I don't know whether or not he was given the opportunity to suggest what he wanted to suggest whilst he was in that role, and it may very well be that he was, whether left or dismissed as a result of, being in a situation where he felt hamstrung. Okay,
well, let's see. Let's see what happens in those coming days. It is better for the country, and I've got family. We've all got families. We've all got an interest in getting the best position for this country. And
Okay.
the worst position is no deal. So
Right. Let me just
no
ask you,
deal.
because we're up against it time-wise, but just finally to you, Claude, if I may. So, if we got to the position where Boris Johnson has 30 days, will you and your party back him? If he comes up with an alternative, will you and your party back him to come up with a deal so that we can leave on the 31st of October?
My party wants to see a deal. It wants to see a deal. And if we don't get a deal,
Will you back Boris Johnson?
It's not a question of backing Boris Johnson. At the moment, Boris Johnson is taking us towards a no deal. We can't back no deal. What
We've
we want
just
to do is
established that he's got 30 days. Why won't your party back him?
Well, if he comes up with a proposal, of course we'll back a good proposal, but he hasn't done that yet, has he?
That's not the point. Will you back him? He's got 30 days. Will you back him for 30 days?
We'll back him if he comes up with proposals in those 30 days. That's what we'll back.